Each of us is born into a story that's thousands of years old. We're born innocent, childlike, and full of wonder. And then there comes the day where we all must grow up and journey into the wider world. But once we step out, the question is asked of each of us: how will you choose to live? What will you do? Hi friends, I'm Casey Page, and welcome to This Unfolding Life, a podcast series where we explore the life stories and creative process behind the songs on my upcoming album. Each week we explore where a song came from, how it grew, and what it might have to say for your unfolding life. This episode centers on the second track on my upcoming album, Little Girl in the Woods, which begins in the magical land of childhood, but then leads us into a much bigger, universal story. This song came to me on the night before Easter in 2024. I had just been listening to Noah Kahan's folk pop hit Stick Season, and I wondered to myself, what would it be like if I tried to write a song in that folk pop style? So I sat down in my kitchen with a guitar and just started playing a little riff, finger picking some, trying to find a melody that I might like. And pretty quickly, the line came to me, Little Girl in the Woods. And as soon as that idea came to me, I thought, why haven't I thought about this sooner? Of course, my album would need a song called Little Girl in the Woods, because I was the little girl in the woods. That's where my story began. When I was 2 years old, my parents built a house on 7 acres of woods outside of Louisville, Kentucky. And that's where I grew up until I was about 8. And so my earliest memories are all located on this little plot of land in the woods, checking out the tadpoles in the creek that ran around my house, naming the trees in our front yard with my grandma, and meeting turtles on the gravel road that led up to the house. My mom would tell me bedtime stories about the little girl in the woods. And of course, the little girl was me. Every night I would ask my mom, what did the little girl in the woods do today? And she would recount my own adventures, telling me all the things that the little girl in the woods had done. So the woods shaped my identity. For me, it was an innocent, wild land of childhood where anything was possible.
Dawn is rising in the wildwood. Creek is waking with a sigh. Little girl is running barefoot, eyes flashing bright and white. She pays her visit to the tadpoles, greets the maple and the pine, weaves a crown for herself and Mr. Turtle from honeysuckle vine.
And that's how the song begins. A child weaving honeysuckle crowns and making friends with turtles. But as I kept working on the song, I realized that this wasn't going to be just a sweet, nostalgic story of my childhood. I sensed a heavy mystery stirring underneath the music, because I knew that the little girl couldn't stay in the woods forever.
If only she could stay a child forever, but from dust she came and to dust she will return. The legacy she bears is not so simple, she will have to learn. Darling, it's true that the time will come for you when you leave this land of daydream and clover. Oh, the story's been told over and over. Little girl in the woods. Ooh, little girl in the woods. Ooh.
And that's when I realized that this story wasn't just about me at all. It wasn't just about the little girl. It was about all of us. It was our story, humanity's story. We are all born innocent and wide-eyed, and yet at some point we all have to grow up and come face to face with a world that is at the same time both beautiful and terrible. We're tempted to live for our own personal gain and to see others not as family, but as competition. And yet we're also invited in the midst of all of it to live a life of compassion and self-giving love and solidarity with those who suffer.
Welcome to the world beyond the forest, where beautiful and terrible things come. Silver tongues will seek to hypnotize you with their siren songs. You will be bent toward possession and self-interest. You will compete to be among the favored few. Meanwhile, you will have siblings who are suffering. What will you choose to do?
As the song moves into the bridge, it shifts from one little girl's story to the legacy of all of those who have gone before us, our ancestors.
Ancestors journey beside you, lighting your path with wise words. They were warriors in the struggle of their lifetimes. Now it's your turn.
I love this part because it reminds me that we're not alone. We stand in a long line of people who have lived their one life, made their choices, and have left us the legacy of their struggles and wisdom. Their courage is a light for our path today. Who are your ancestors? Those people whose lives guide and inspire you. They don't have to be blood relatives. They could be people who have loved you in your life, or people that you don't know personally, but have left a legacy with their words and with their art and with their choices that give you strength to live your life. Who are your people? Mine includes my grandmother, Reba, my mom's mom, who went back to school in her mid-30s after eloping when she was 14. She worked a lot of jobs in her life that weren't normally jobs that women held, but she did it with strength and with a fierceness that commanded the respect of the people in the room. She finally got her master's degree and taught advanced high school science for years. Her faith and her commitment to learning and to family were all huge influences in my early life. Another one of my people is someone I've chosen but have never met in person, Rich Mullins, who died in the 90s but was a Christian singer-songwriter who at the height of his fame insisted on living on minimum wage as he taught kids on a Native American reservation. The Bible talks about the great cloud of witnesses cheering us on, and I believe that they do exist. I believe that we're not alone, that we're constantly being supported by those who have gone before, who have persevered in the cause of goodness, and who desire to see us run our own race well, too. And that leads us to the final line of the song, the question hanging in the air. What will you do?
What will you do?
What will you do? The question came to me one day as I heard the story of a community in Latin America burying their loved ones with dignity after enduring a horrible massacre. As I let the story of their suffering sink into me, I heard the question rise up. And how will you live knowing that there's this kind of suffering in the world? What will you do? It's not an easy question. And I don't have a full answer. I'm not sure if I ever will. But it continues to come back to me again and again over the years, challenging me, inviting me, turning over the tables of my assumptions for how I should live my life. We're all going to have a different answer to that question. Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, wrote the famous line, "And what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" We all have our own unique parts to play. Maybe for some of us, we'll only find our answer by living out that question for years. We're all, in a sense, the little girl in the woods. We've been born into this world in wide-eyed wonder, And at some point, we've had to leave the woods and discover the wider world with all of its complications. And now we each are invited to find our own answer to the question that has been asked over and over and over to human after human after human for thousands and thousands of years. What will you do? So here's a simple practice for you. I invite you to close your eyes if you would like, and imagine yourself at the age when you were the most wild and free as a child. See that version of you in your mind's eye. Breathe in the joy and strength of that child and let it fill you with life. And then I invite you to call to mind the good ancestors who companion you, those whose lives or whose art give you strength and inspiration. As you imagine them with you, what good words are they saying over you? How are they encouraging you today? And finally, let this question settle within you. What will you do with your one wild and precious life? Don't rush yourself for an answer. Just let it settle within you as an invitation into something beautiful and good and true. Thank you so much for listening to This Unfolding Life. This was the story behind the song Little Girl in the Woods. If you'd like to see how this series began, you can click here and watch episode 1 where I talk about creative possibility, or here and watch episode 2 where I talk about the backstory behind my song New Tree Growing from the Old Dead Root. Next time, we'll keep walking this path of stories and songs together. Until then, may you receive strength from the joyous and free child within you. May you know that your good ancestors are walking beside you. And may you be gently guided towards your own answer to the question, what will you do, as you continue on the journey of your beautiful, unfolding life. See you soon.